Hello, tiny friends. Welcome back to TinyKeyHoleMinis. I'm Jolene, and if you're new to my channel, well, you're just in time because I am introducing a new series of dolls. This doll is the first doll of my retail series. I won't be recording the retail dolls, but I will do a short video on their introduction, and then they'll be listed for sale. I sculpted this doll out of polymer clay. She is a swamp witch. Her name is Sophelia. And oh gosh, I love her so much, tiny friends. It's going to be very hard to part ways with her or probably any of the dolls that I have coming up. However, I do plan on creating a series of dolls that I will be sharing on my channel, and you can see what I'm doing to customize them. That series of dolls will be for my own personal collection. For this doll, it took me 5 days and about 60 hours. So every day was a very long day for those 5 days that I worked on her. She is 1/12 scale, and she measures in between 5 and 6 inches. I think her hair helps her out a lot. She's a little hunched over too, so her width at the widest point is probably around 3 inches. I haven't finalized her listing details yet, but she will be listed right after Christmas in my Etsy shop, and I will put a link in the description box below. I did hand make everything for her, and I'm gonna bring you in a little closer so you can see more of her details as I talk about what I did and how I created her. Luckily for me, I found her armature in my drawer from when I made Miss Margot, so that worked out really well because it saved me a lot of time having to create one. And as I worked on her, another witch came through that was asking to be made. So I already have an idea for the next witch coming up. Right now, she is standing on her own without a doll stand, but I highly recommend and suggest using a doll stand for her just to keep her from falling over and maybe damaging her hands or breaking a finger or a nail. Her nails are really delicate, and her staff makes her top heavy, so it's a possibility that she could fall forward. And being that she's so old and brittle, we wouldn't want her to break any bones. I'm going to start with her jewelry, and you can see that she's wearing quite a few different stones. Each one symbolizes something different. They all have some sort of symbolism or different purpose for them. For her bracelet, I have taken 3 little rings and created a bangle bracelet, and there are 4 stones on that. Those are her protection stones. For her necklaces, I used a couple different rings and added some stones with some resin. And the bottom stone is a tricolor stone. And then the top stone is shaped as a triangle. Sorry about the focus. That stone is an ancient symbol from her coven. But each stone does something different and is very meaningful for her and very purposeful for her to wear. In her hand, she holds a rope with 2 skulls on the end, and her nails are very sharp. And I'm really sorry about that, but witches don't believe in nail files. So I guess she has super sharp, pointy nails. And she's got discoloring around her cuticles. So her nails are not completely painted. For her glasses, I used a very fine piece of wire and some, I think it's actually acrylic acetate. I used Tibetan lamb for her hair. It's the same hair that I used for Miss Margot. It's very soft. I love it. She's got 3 different colors, And she's got some dangly charms. She's got two, one on each side. Some ribbon going in and out of her messy buns, and a little scrunchie on this side. You can see the base of her hair is gray, and then the brown is losing color, and the blonde will eventually turn gray. I also used the gray on her eyebrows. I didn't give her eyelashes because I thought it would be too much for her. I feel like she was good without them. So I didn't use the eyelashes, but I did create her eyes. And that was my first set of eyes that I created. So she has a little resin on her eyes. I painted them brown, and then there's the black pupil, and I also added a little bit of antique gold rub and buff just to bring some of that sparkle out. I wish I had just did her whole color with rub and buff. I think I'm going to be doing that in the future. I'm most likely going to have to replace this little charm and bring it back a little further, because now that she has her staff, it kind of interferes. I want it to be able to dangle and be visible. So that's probably going to be just shifted back a little further. I just used a piece of wire and curved it, and then added a little bead in the middle. And then for the charm part, that actually came off of an earring. So that's how I made that. And I'll show you the back of her hair. I tried very hard not to get glue everywhere. For the most part, I did a good job at that. She does have some flyaways and some pieces coming out of her hair. You can see this one right here. It's a little kinky and wavy. I love her messy buns. Oh gosh, I just love her so much. Oh my gosh. Okay, so bringing her back to the front. I'm just trying to be really careful with her. For her staff, I used beads and bead caps to create a lantern, and it has a little chain going up to the top. I used a stick that I had, and it was kind of like a wavy stick, and I thought that would be really cool. It was pretty sturdy, so I thought it had some character to it. And here's a little charm that kind of looks like some sort of dream catcher. I added a little bit of moss, and I used that berry garland that I used to create the Charlie Brown tree. It has a piece of wire inside. I just wrapped it around the staff to give it a little more character. And I also added a piece of cheesecloth that was left over from when I created the Dollar Tree mummy. The bottom of her dress is tattered and torn and a bit muddy. She has 3 layers. The first layer that's really muddy is just a thin piece of black fabric, and then her dress is a blue fabric, and you can see the detail there. I just love the color of her dress. And then she's wearing an apron made of cheesecloth. It does have a couple holes in it. And I created a jacket for her. The jacket was the hardest part. I did have a little bit of trouble with that, but I knew that I was going to be putting a shawl on her, so it's okay. She has a big belly. For her shawl, I used a white creepy cloth, and I dyed it with a dark green acrylic paint. It's the same color as the trimming around her jacket. You can see the bottom a little bit better. And her boots have mud on them as well. I made her boots from faux leather, and I did sign the bottom. I always sign my pieces JoJo and then the year they were made, because that's my nickname. That's what my family calls me. Her boots are black, but I did use a little bit of rub and buff to discolor them. And then on the bottom, I used some wood glue to create the mud and fill in the gap space between the bottom of her shoe and the leather. The bottom part was actually created with chipboard. And I did add laces. There is also a tongue inside the boot. She does have good sturdy shoes, and they do help her stand pretty well. The bottom of the dress took a few layers of acrylic paint and some drying time in between each layer. I didn't glue her shawl down. It can be removed so the details of her dress can be seen. I love her jacket. The front of her jacket comes down to a point. It kind of comes down at an angle into a point and around her belly. The fabric is actually tucked in nice and tight around the top of her belly to help it poke out a little more. And this is the back of her shawl. And I'm just going to show you some of the detailing in the clothes. They did take me a while. I am not an expert at making doll clothes. I did sew a little bit and mostly glued everything. So again, I was very careful not to get that glue everywhere. The bottom of her dress has a little discoloring. She still has a little bit of lint around her from the make. I'm going to pull the top down so you can see her shape. She has a little bit of a hunch back. And then her butt pokes out a little more. The trimming on the top of her dress goes around her neck. She just has a white top on underneath her jacket. You can see it a little bit. And her sleeves are created in the bell style, so they kind of hang down a little more. She has a pretty good sized belly that pokes out. I wanted the fabric of her dress to still have that softer feel, so I didn't use a watered down glue solution for draping. For the most part, it drapes pretty well, and when you get down to the bottom where I did discolor it with acrylic and water, it's a little stiffer. But I think that is it for her. I do want to invest in some watercolor pencils. I do not have any, and I would like to use those for coloring for my future dolls. And if you are interested in her before she's listed or you have any questions, you can always email me at jolene@tinykeyhole.com. I will also put that link in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video today, tiny friends. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Click that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I would definitely love to hear your comments if you have any questions. If you are emailing me, please put in the subject box Swamp Witch so that it doesn't get shuffled to my unwanted mail and I can know right away to address it and respond. So here she is, my very first retail doll and my second doll ever that I've made. And I hope she goes to a very lovely home and that her new owner takes extremely good care of her and absolutely adores her as much as I do. If you'd like to see more of my miniatures and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and hit that top bell notification button to be notified every time I upload a new project. I will see you all next year, tiny friends. And until then, have a happy holidays, and I hope that your new year to come brings you many blessings. I'll see you all on the mini side.